Good afternoon, grinders. You're looking at Team Killer B, and if I'm not mistaken, you're actually looking at our fine faces this time. Like to say hi. The gentleman I think is going to be on your left is Killer B, Brett Hartfield. Brett, say hi.
How's it going, grinders?
And the mystery man to Brett's left is Kurt Hartfield, our third partner. Kurt, say hi to the public.
How you guys doing? I'm still hungover from the poor output this week, boys.
Oof. Well, yeah, we if you're looking at three dejected faces, that's because these faces had their worst week of the year. We're hoping that it's darkest before the dawn because we would like to be the three faces that won $2 million next week in Vegas. But that said, what we'd like to go over today is our worst of the worst, our worst DraftKings lineup this week. Just kind of, I don't know, Us Weekly, their favorite segment is the stars are like everyone else. We are terrible this week, so hopefully you can wallow in our pity. But we're going to start where we did well. Running backs was a place we had some success. Kurt, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about our running back selections?
Yeah, so as Luke said, we had a pretty bad week to say the least on DraftKings. The one nice thing is when we play across 6 different sites, we have some core guys that we really like, and 2 of those guys were Jonathan Stewart and Eddie Lacy. Jonathan Stewart across the board on pretty much every site you look at is just pure price point play. You need to fit in a little value, and knowing he's going to get 90% of the workload, you really like his near min price. On DraftKings, he was 3,800. Can't argue the matchup, and definitely can't argue his output for the price that we paid for him. So, that was definitely something you saw across all lineups. Was a lot of Jonathan Stewart. Secondly, you saw Eddie Lacy was a big play of ours, and the reason we went that direction is, again, he had the nuts matchup with Atlanta, just a sieve run defense. They were projected Packers were projected to put up one of the highest point totals, if not the highest of the week, and really we thought Eddie Lacy was going to be a big part of that. So at his second-tiered pricing on DraftKings versus the Fortes, the Murrays, we really thought that was a good price point, and so rolled out Eddie across the board. Brett, do you want to maybe touch upon the Bourbon Street Dud combo that we rolled out?
Yeah, so obviously we were pretty high on Breeze and Graham being at home in the Dome in New Orleans. Liked the matchup, obviously, with Carolina. I have no idea what went wrong there. We liked how Jimmy Graham's price definitely decreased after his zero-catch performance. We were hoping to catch a little bit of fire this week, but we didn't get that. In fact, I believe Jimmy Graham almost went 6 quarters without a target. He got his first target almost at the end of it would have been right around halftime against Carolina. So, yeah, those were duds. Drew Brees, 235 yards, a passing touchdown, 6 rushing yards, and an interception. I thought his floor was 250 and 2 at home. But now we see a new floor for him, 235, 1-1. So that's no good. And Jimmy Graham, you would think without Brandon Cooks in that offense, he'd be targeted a ton. I don't exactly know what his targets were, but he had 3 catches for 25 yards. That's got to be his floor. So,
yeah, you guys, what do you guys think about the shoulder injury? It just seems like there's more there that we're not led to believe. It came out last week that he's still experiencing it, but man, there's got to be something more there because he's matchup proof. And Breeze at home, what are his numbers since he's been with New Orleans? He averages something like 300 and 2.5 TDs at home, and clearly that has not been the case. And I think he's really hurt by Graham and Cooks.
Yeah.
Right. So let's this was a week where all top running backs just crushed it. You look at the top 8 priced running backs, and they all produced. They all got their value this week. Pretty crazy. But Luke, let's throw it back to you. Let's talk about Gordon and Roberts, our wide receiver picks here.
Well, wide receivers across the 2 main sites were our biggest failure. Gordon we liked, then Vontae Davis was out, then we loved him. 2 for 15. Last time Vontae Davis missed a significant chunk of time, Ben Roethlisberger had touchdowns coming out of every hole in his body. But, you blame it on Hoyer, but Hoyer was there when he was so successful last year. So I don't know. Hopefully Johnny Manziel gives him a spark next week, but that was surprising. The other play was a value play, and I got to tell you, I have a cut on my neck. We were at odds about this play. Brett wanted Pierre Garçon correctly.
Yep.
We wanted Andre Roberts incorrectly, and you see the results. The thought was just, if they're going to split the work evenly, pick the cheaper one. They did not split the work.
Exactly.
Another scenario, though, where I think quarterback hurt us. Colt McCoy and Brian Hoyer together caused all the pain that we're feeling right now.
I just want to interject, and I want to throw this out to the grinders. Luke and possibly Kurt might have said that Roberts is as talented as Pierre Garçon. Now, I just want to throw that out there. I don't think there's anywhere near the same talent level, but I like the Roberts pick still because St. Louis gives it up to wide receiver 2. I believe they were one of the bottom 3 to wide receiver 2. That's why we keyed on Andre Roberts. But go ahead. Kurt, how about we talk about that Denver Broncos D, huh?
Yeah, and again, we talked about this. Brett, I know you were big on the Detroit Lions for a while there, and their price was about $700 more. I really felt strongly about the Broncos D being at home against a Buffalo defense that, while at times can be somewhat sufficient, but I think at the price point of $2,700, which is near the kind of the bottom to min price, it just seemed like a really good price to pay and try to use that money elsewhere. So, I was pretty strong on it, and I know the group eventually, we all became a pretty good consensus pick, Broncos D, because they were priced pretty low across the industry, to roll them out and save the money and spend elsewhere. Unfortunately, we didn't spend it where we should have, so we spent at the wrong spots. But
we kind of went down from the Vikings to the Broncos in order to go up from Wilson to Breeze. That was a little bit of a double bummer.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, I'll say Roberts and Garçon, same size, same speed. Roberts was a 3rd-round pick. Garçon was a 6th-round pick. The only problem is, with few exceptions, you don't catch balls that aren't thrown to you. Maybe it wasn't open. Brett, the last couple players we have were the least strong plays. They were kind of the last ones that got fit in to make the lineup. You want to talk a little bit about Shorts and Matthews?
Yeah, so let's just look at basically the guys that we had locked in this cash game lineup. Like, we wanted Jonathan Stewart, we wanted Eddie Lacy, and then we wanted Josh Gordon. I think those were our 3 mainstays. Stewart and Lacy were big hits. Gordon was a big miss. But after that, we kind of needed an RB3 where we went Matthews. Our quarterback was definitely – we were moving around between different quarterbacks. Like Luke said, we definitely liked Russell Wilson this week, and he almost made this lineup. Unfortunately, we put in Drew Brees because we had extra money, and we decided we wanted to go against spending at the wide receiver. We'd rather spend at the quarterback where you can almost – where we thought we could predict our production in Drew Brees, but that obviously wasn't the case. But let's just analyze, Shorts and Matthews. Obviously, Cecil Shorts, 3 catches, 2 yards. Or no, 2 catches, 3 yards, exactly the opposite. And then Ryan Matthews, he had 48 total yards and 1 catch. The one way you can attack the Patriots is up the middle rush game. You can attack the Patriots also up the middle in pass game. They're weaker in the middle of their defense. That's why the Packers definitely did well with their tight ends and with Randall Cobb, attacking the middle of the field. We thought Ryan Matthews could definitely get some dump offs or even some decent runs in the middle. Fortunately, it seemed like New England really controlled this game. I guess I shouldn't say that because San Diego did get off to a really good start.
I think our big thing was we just missed the Rashad Jennings. He was active, going into the 12 o'clock games, and Andre Williams was someone we were kind of looking at 4,400 in that same price point. If Rashad Jennings goes inactive, do we roll out Williams? I'm not sure you guys were as big on him. To be honest, I wasn't huge on him, but I liked the price point. So I'm not sure if Jennings being inactive would have helped.
You can't be big on a guy that gets 3 yards per carry.
Yeah.
But no doubt his touchdown equity was going to be high in that game. And I just want to close it out with – or not close it out, I'll throw it to Luke after this. But, we wanted two value wide receivers, and we were close to hitting. We liked Charles Johnson. I know Kurt was big on Charles Johnson. I was big on Doug Baldwin and Pierre Garcon. All of those three definitely returned value. Luke, what value wide receivers that you liked that did well?
I mean, Charles Johnson was my number one. I picked him.
Yep. And so, I mean, if we can summarize this week, it was a lot of near misses. Guys that we had that were on the outside of the bubble looking in produce, and the guys that were in the bubble just didn't produce. When you have the top 8 running backs all produce, someone's going to have at least one of those top 8. And they all, I guess the guys that decided to go all the way up to Le'Veon Bell got rewarded handsomely this week. But everywhere else, we were just missing. We spent at Jimmy Graham. That's a miss. And I know when we were looking at value tight ends, Jared Cook was in the discussion. So a lot of near misses for us, and that's the way I can sum it up. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, you look forward. Yeah, if I'm going to be optimistic, they say losing can be therapeutic, and DK just gave us like 5 figures worth of free therapy. We got $2 million on the line next week. When you're swinging on a swing, right before you get the furthest up, you go the furthest back. So wish us some luck, grinders. Have a good afternoon.